And we are back. Very many thanks for choosing to stay with us. And in case you're just joining us, welcome to Kenya's Gold, where our focus of the day is on fish farming in Kenya. And we are narrowing it down to capture fisheries, which is the more traditional way of getting fish. Now, to understand more about that agri-sector, we are joined by Mr. John Eric, who is a fisheries and aquaculture technical project manager. Very many thanks for making time to be with us today. And I'm going to start this conversation very lightly. Do you enjoy fish yourself?
A lot.
Which type of fish do you like to eat?
Tilapia is my favorite.
Right.
Dry fried tilapia.
Oh, come on now. Right now. Terry, which kind of fish do you like to eat?
Nadhani ile ambayo nakula sana na kweli napenda ni omena.
Oh, really? You didn't say that because it's the feature of the day?
Ni kweli kabisa, mimi hupenda omena.
Really?
Lakini sipendi kama inatiwa maji. Iwe tu imekauka. Sasa ikikaushwa, wakati unapata nafasi ya kula, basi unasikiza ni kama unakula crisps.
Great.
Sasa ufikiri tena ile unasema harufu iko sawa.
All right. Now, just moving to the agenda of the day, we are watching a feature from Homa Bay County where we're seeing how fishermen are embracing capture fisheries. And one of the things that caught my attention is the fact that right now, yes, there is a decline of the fish that we're getting from the capture fisheries. And there are very different reasons as to why that is happening. But when you were speaking to that lady, she said there's something that is called yugis, that it's a certain wind that blows for 4 months and the fish inakuwa kidogo. It comes to me that there are some cultural beliefs, you know, that they believe are some of the reasons as to why there's a decline in fish. Maybe you can tell us about these beliefs and also now back it up with what is really happening, the truth of why we are having a decline in fish in capture fisheries.
Thank you. So mostly we try to get an explanation to everything. So it's true that there's a general decline in capture fisheries, not only in Kenya, but globally. But then the seasonality in which we catch fish depends on so many factors, very scientific and very predictable. It's just that at the village level, we get the basic way to explain it. So the feature is about omena. Omena capture goes with lunar cycles. I'm sure they mentioned the moon and something like that. So it means that they have to go with the lunar cycles when they catch omena. So in most cases, it has very little to do with the availability of omena itself, but with, is it possible to catch omena during this period of time?
All right. But
then the issue about currents, Lake Victoria is the largest tropical lake in the world. But then it's 9th in the world in terms of volume. That's because when you talk about volume, we look at depth. So the lake not being so deep, there's often a lot of mixing. And when there's mixing, we have less oxygen, water with less oxygen coming to the surface. And remember, she was telling you this is not only an omena problem, but works with the rest of the fish. So during such cycles, lake turnovers and currents, which also has something to do with the winds, it affects the fish.
Okay.
Yes.
Sasa hapo kuna swala lingine pia, kutofautisha kati ya aquaculture na capture fisheries. Tofauti iko wapi? Kwa sababu kuna mtu ambaye amezoea sana kuona, tumefanya makala mawili, lakini tofauti yenyewe inatokea wapi?
So if I was talking to fish, in aquaculture the fish would say, if you want me, grow me. In capture fisheries, it would say, if you want me, come catch me. So we grow the fish in aquaculture, so it means we have to invest, put in inputs, you have to feed them. In capture, we go to natural ecosystems like Victoria, where you are, and depending on how available they are, we catch them. So one is more controlled than the other.
All right. Now, also, let's talk about marine culture, all right, where we now have fishermen in the oceans and the coastal lines, and what we have watched in Lake Victoria. What are the significant differences that you'll notice from those two categories of people who are still in capture fisheries, but just different regions?
Yeah, there are varied of differences, but for the sake of this conversation, I'll just pick a few that I consider very important. The most obvious one is freshwater, one is saltwater.
Yes.
But then from a fisheries point of view, Lake Victoria is very, very stressed in terms of utilization of the resource. We have very many fishermen exploiting it. A lot happening in the lake basin. In the ocean, on the other hand, we have relatively fewer fishermen because you need relatively more sophisticated gear to catch the fish. But then our fisheries industry in Kenya is still mostly artisanal. We do not have the very sophisticated gear, so we've barely utilized our ocean resource. We have a very long coastline, by the way. We've barely tapped into that. And from a policy point of view and trying to look at the blue economy policies, we are trying to strategize. How do we utilize this resource more? Because maybe it would alleviate pressure from Lake Victoria, because then we have alternative sources of fish.
Okay.
What are those alternatives, very quickly, before we take a break?
No, in this case, instead of just relying on tilapia, Nile perch, omena, now we have the saltwater fish being caught in abundance and available in our markets.
Sasa unafanya kazi nzuri sana John Eric kwa kueleza, lakini tukirejea basi tutazungumzia sana pia, utueleze kile kikubwa kabisa kwa swala la omena, kama unaendelea kutufuatilia na kama vile umejiunga nasi kwa mara ya kwanza, basi mkoko ndio kama taratibu tunazungumzia masuala kuhusiana na samaki na kunasa na vile omena kwa undani kabisa. Usikwende popote, tunakwenda katika mapumziko kidunya, tukirejea kungali kuna mengi.